I never believed in the old stories, but now I wish I had. The ones about the cursed forest, where the trees whisper your secrets, and the winds carry laughter that isn't yours. It was all folklore, a way to keep kids from wandering too far. At least that's what I told myself when I started my job as a park ranger. The forest was ancient, sprawling, and impossibly dense. The locals called it the Vale, a name that felt apt the longer you stayed within its confines. It was a quiet place, the kind that muffled even the crunch of your boots on the forest floor. But on this particular morning, it wasn't quiet. It was wrong. The air was thick, oppressive, carrying an unnatural stillness that set my teeth on edge. I had been sent to investigate reports of fallen trees in an area rarely visited. Probably a storm, my supervisor had said, waving it off. But there hadn't been a storm, not for weeks. As I ventured deeper into the Vale, the forest began to change. The light filtering through the canopy turned dimmer, almost gray, as if the sun itself refused to look too closely. About 2 miles in, I noticed the first anomaly. A faint hum, barely perceptible, like a swarm of bees just out of sight. The sound wasn't constant. It swelled and receded like a heartbeat. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but the farther I walked, the louder it grew. Then came the symbols. Strange markings carved into tree trunks, spirals, jagged lines, and shapes that defied logic. They weren't fresh. The bark had healed around them, as though the forest itself had absorbed the markings over decades. I radioed back to the station, describing the carvings, but all I got was static. The hum grew louder. The first tree came into view an hour later. It wasn't fallen. It was suspended, roots and all, high in the canopy. The trunk was twisted unnaturally, as if it had been wrenched free and carried skyward. My breath caught. I scanned the area, hoping for some rational explanation, but found none. My unease deepened as I noticed something glinting near the base of another tree. It was an old knife, its blade dull and rusted, jammed into the soil. Tied to its hilt was a tuft of hair, human hair. I told myself it was a prank, some elaborate hoax to scare hikers, but there were no hikers out here. As I backed away, a sudden gust of wind howled through the trees, but it wasn't like any wind I'd ever felt. It was warm, fetid, and carried with it the unmistakable sound of laughter. Not joyous laughter, mocking, hollow, and cruel. The hum was now a roar, enveloping me from all sides. I tried to head back, but the forest didn't seem to agree. Every landmark I remembered, the fallen log, the boulder by the creek, was gone, replaced by a labyrinth of identical trees. I was lost. Nightfall came faster than it should have. My flashlight flickered, casting long, wavering shadows, shadows that moved even when I didn't. That's when I saw them, figures perched high in the branches, silhouetted against the dim sky. At first I thought they were animals, but animals don't have eyes that glow like embers. They don't sit still, watching with an intelligence that feels ancient and malicious. A rustling sound to my right made me whirl around. An old man stood there, or what looked like a man. His skin was weathered like bark, and his eyes were cloudy and unfocused. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "They don't like it when you see." "See what?" I stammered, gripping my flashlight like it could ward off whatever they were. "Their cradle," he said simply, pointing up. Following his gesture, I aimed my flashlight into the treetops. What I saw will haunt me for the rest of my life. Suspended between the branches was something massive, a woven structure of roots, vines, and bones. Human bones. The cradle pulsed, as if alive, and from within it came a wet, chittering sound, like insects skittering over glass. The old man was gone when I turned back. The figures in the trees were closer now, their glowing eyes fixed on me. A low growl reverberated through the forest, deep and guttural, shaking the ground beneath my feet. I ran. I don't remember how I found my way back, only that the hum followed me all the way to the ranger station. When I burst through the door, my colleagues stared at me like I was insane. They didn't believe me. Not about the cradle, not about the figures, not even about the old man. "You probably just got turned around," one of them said dismissively. But I saw it in their eyes. They knew something was wrong. I quit the next day. The forest doesn't let go, though. At night, I still hear the hum, faint but persistent, as if it's calling me back. Sometimes I catch glimpses of glowing eyes in the corner of my vision, and the laughter never stops. If you ever find yourself near the veil, do yourself a favor. Stay out. Some things are better left unseen,